Marshall. Happy Hump Day, guys.
And before we get into tonight's topic, as you know, Cheryl Ann will be sharing us so that the rest of the viewers on the Caribbean Edge page can see us as well. I read this on Sunday and I wanted to share it with you. It's from a 19-year-old. She posted it on her Instagram page and she has no idea that I'm sharing it tonight, but I was really moved and touched, and I thought that it would really motivate people or give you food for thought at least. As we are nearing down to the end of the year, I, like probably many of you, have been feeling unaccomplished, feeling less than, feeling not good enough, feeling like I don't know what I'm doing at a given time, feeling stuck, surviving instead of living, dealing with social issues, body issues, job issues, financial issues, security issues, homesick issues, love issues, etc. So I decided to go back and look at the past year. Within this whole year, I remember that I lost 25 pounds, chopped off my hair, bad idea looking back on it, transferred schools, quit the sport I loved to pursue a career in modeling, lost friends, made new ones, felt heartbreak, collaborated with great photographers, was in a music video, LOL, and ended up signing to one of the most acclaimed agencies in the world. That was me. I did that along with the help from some amazing support system and some awesome people I met along the way. So on this Sunday, I feel blessed. If you ever feel stuck, look back on where you come from. Be patient with yourself and give yourself the reassurance you need. Believe in your capabilities. Love yourself and love others. Happy Sunday. And that was written by my daughter, Jay Jeffrey. Thank you, baby, for sharing that. I'm sure you motivated a lot of your friends, especially in college, that have followed your journey, and also just motivating people, adults as well, to say sometimes we do feel stuck and unaccomplished, but when we look back at everything we've done, you're like, wow, I've really done a lot. So thank you for being an inspiration to others. Well, tonight's topic is college admission scandal. And as we know, it's hot in the news. It's called Operation Varsity Blues. And it was, just privileged people within the time frame of 2011 to 2018, just going through the side door, so to speak, into college by paying their way, bribing their ways into some very elite schools, some top colleges out there. So if you've been following this, not following it, we want to hear from you. We obviously did some research so we could talk about it tonight. So some of the schools, these top schools, include Yale, Georgetown, USC, UCLA, University of Texas, Stanford. Some, schools that kids really want to go into.
Well, hence the scandal.
Yes.
Hence the scandal.
Hence the scandal.
It's schools that are in demand, schools that everyone would like to have their name associated with. They want to have that on their resume. I went to Yale.
Yeah, but you have to ask yourself, and I, even reading everything that I've read on this, I ask myself, why would I, with all the money in the world, need to pay my way into school? And the question that comes to mind for me from a personal level is, why would you take away that opportunity from someone else? Every bribe that you made was a disadvantage to another child that really needed that didn't have the funds or the opportunities that you have. So it goes beyond any ethical decision you can make and the lessons that you're teaching your children as well. So because some of these kids, even though they're not being charged yet, and I don't think there's any plans to charge them from everything I've read, it's like some of your kids knew what you were doing. So how do you face your kids, I guess, to them it's nothing. It's normal life.
Well, I think they probably just didn't even think it through. Like Felicity Huffman said, I was just trying to do what was best for my child without even thinking about the consequences. She basically got caught up in, okay, wow, I want my child to go to the school, without thinking further on that this is going to come to light, that this is going to be in the public's eye, and I'm going to have to explain my unethical behavior.
Right. So she didn't just like pay, and I don't buy what she said.
Right.
I think it's just an excuse, it's sugarcoating it. She didn't just pay for a building or make a donation to the school like some parents do, and that's supposedly acceptable. She actually paid for them to change her daughter's SAT scores. You have to know that's illegal. I mean, you thought it through, you made a decision.
I'm not saying that she doesn't know it's illegal.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying I don't buy the excuse.
That it's illegal. She does not care that it's illegal. She thinks that I have the money and I can afford to do it, so I'm going to do it. But I think that all of them had no idea that this was going to come to light. They had no idea that this was going to come to light. Imagine being in the public eye. Imagine now having to serve a sentence. Granted, it's how long is her sentence?
2 weeks.
Right, granted, but it's still a sentence. It's still community hours that she's going to have to eventually do. And it's still in the public eye that Felicity Huffman did this.
So that raises a question. Does the punishment fit the crime? We're talking about 2 weeks for you to have paid someone to change your daughter's SAT scores, whether she had them change it or the person actually sat and took the test for her, whatever that was. 2 weeks, right? So there's a lot of stories, real cases where parents have put their kids into a school, a neighboring school, for example, and they've served real time in jail. They've gotten 5 years. One parent I read, she got sentenced to pay $30,000, and if she couldn't pay it, spend 15 days in jail. Obviously, she couldn't pay it, and she spent the 15 days in jail. So this is someone that just, and a lot of parents do this, and you don't, like you mentioned, you don't think of the consequences, right? You're thinking, okay, the neighboring school community is better, you know, it's rated an A school while my school is rated a C school. I'll just use someone's address and send them there. And you're not thinking you're committing a crime, right? So that I can see a parent not thinking through. But when you're paying someone hundreds of thousands of dollars to go lie and cheat on a test, and then these parents that just simply still breaking the law, don't get me wrong, put their kids in a neighboring school, end up serving more time than her. I think the only good thing for her is she pled guilty early. So now there are like additional charges for bribery. So all the other people who decided to fight the system despite their crime are now going to potentially face longer sentences.
Yes, Lori Loughlin, one of them. Because Lori Loughlin is one of them that refuses to say that she's guilty. She refuses to admit to her crime. So I like that they've decided because of that you're going to face additional charges. So it does look like if they are actually being stern with the punishment that they intend to implement on these criminals.
And they have to. There's so much attention to it, and it's considered, a high society crime, so to speak. In her case, she did something different. She actually, along with other people, because there were 33 parents so far charged, right? So she actually was one of the parents that paid the coaches, paid, what's his name, Singer?
Yeah, William.
Yeah, paid him, and he bribed and paid off the coaches, top coaches, money to say her kids were part of the crew, which I believe she has 2 daughters, correct? So they bought their way in. So a lot of these parents, what they did, for those of you that haven't read it yet, they actually took the faces from their daughters' photos and put them on real athletes' bodies doing the sports, and sent these in as part of the whole scheme, and pretended that these kids were athletes. Some of them never showed up for the sport. Some of them said they had a sprained ankle and couldn't come. Whatever the case is, these kids weren't true athletes. So they've taken 2 slots, in her case, that belong to kids that work really, really hard academically.
That deserve it.
I mean, I can tell you from a sports mom who, my daughter played volleyball for sports, and all her friends out there that played sports, whether it's basketball, football, soccer. These kids work really hard to maintain their grades. They're practicing for their sports. I remember Jade would go right from school to doing homework to volleyball practice in Boca Raton till 10 o'clock at night. Come home and she's up till 1, 2 in the morning doing her homework to get her grades proper and to go to school the next day and repeat. And then as parents, you're spending thousands of dollars for hotels, for club, traveling with your kids, plane tickets, everything else, uniform, club fees, just to get, and we're not rich parents. We're parents that work for every penny we have to try to get our kids a head start in the sport that she loved. So to read that parents can just bribe themselves and take it away from the passionate kids that are out there working for these scholarships, I personally, as a mom, find it totally unacceptable and disgusting that they've done it.
I'm surprised that they actually got away with it for this long.
Well, some people, it's mixed. Like, some people are very surprised, and then others are not so surprised, because I believe, people have bribed their way for years. This is nothing
Through
new,
everything,
right?
not
Through
just
everything.
college admissions.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just that they got busted.
Mm-hmm.
And they got busted because they were doing an investigation on something completely different. And someone whispered that this may be going on, which started the investigation process. So they could have gotten away with it, which others have.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'm sure many others have.
Yeah.
Have. And not just many others, but those that are not that famous. Those that are just rich, wealthy, have the money, and not in the public eye, like these actors and actresses.
Yeah, I remember my son last year in high school. He tried out for the basketball team, and he was so disappointed when he got home because, granted, at high school you usually start your first or second year, but he decided to give it a shot. Kids decide to try things different times, and it was really good. He worked hard outside playing basketball on the hoop, and he said, "Mom, when I was trying out, the coach didn't even look at me." And I just knew then that they'd already picked the team. They had decided that, but didn't even have the courtesy for the kids trying out to give them a glance or watch them play. And so you're disappointing your kids as coaches that do this as well. So there's quite a few lessons to be learned, but that resonated with me too in reading and hearing about this as well. How many coaches are being bribed? These are obviously prominent parents, so it's more publicized than anything else. But like we've discussed, it's always happened. Now, the mastermind behind this, we can't not talk about William Singer. I mean, he's 58 years old. He's facing up to 65 years. And it's just for all his crimes, bribery, money laundering, that he has masterminded this. It's like amazing to me that people really think that they can get away with it. I don't see, because there's so many people involved. You're talking about parents, coaches, kids. Kids talk. Their friends, they're gonna tell them secrets.
Right.
So how could you
Some of the
not?
kids probably
It's
didn't
like
even know,
almost
though.
like a stupid crime. Like, did you never think that someone may talk? It's not just you that has the information. Once it leaves you, anyone can talk about it. And then and maybe people did, we just don't know. But more to come on this, because they are doing a lot of investigations and it's not over yet. And the charges keep mounting as well.
Do you think all the kids knew about it? Do you think everybody's child that
I don't know
I
if
don't
all,
think
from what
so.
I've read, not all the kids know
I
about
don't think
it.
so.
But some obviously did.
Something came up in the social media world where Lori Loughlin's daughter basically did not even appreciate
Mm-hmm.
what Lori did for her, because she was all over social media talking about not being in class
Mm-hmm.
and fooling around. I think all of those posts were taken down because of the backlash
Absolutely.
that was created.
And then that's the mindset a lot of kids, especially if you're privileged, you don't
Mhm.
think of the opportunities
No, you take it
that
for
you
granted.
have. You take it
Mhm.
for granted.
Mhm.
So I kind of can understand
Sam,
her mindset,
right.
because that's just how she was raised.
Exactly.
You know. But yeah, I think as a family, I would be absolutely embarrassed. Of course, we're not lawyers. We're passing our own opinions here.
These are all alleged.
Yeah. And,
All
you know,
alleged.
yeah, and all the coaches that I know, I mean, they've always been ethical. So we don't want to take away as well from all the good coaches that are out there doing their jobs. These are some top coaches in top schools, and a few of them took the bribes and bribed other people in the process to ensure that it happened. I believe 9 college coaches have been charged or are being investigated. I know Yale, one coach took $400,000 for soccer, and then another one from, I believe, Stanford took $500,000 for 2 students. So it's huge, because and we find some stuff about coaches. You know, we found coaches that have molested kids. The U.S. swim team went through that. But as parents, we're putting our kids in your hands to take care of them for that time that they're in high school or college. And I have a lot of respect for the coaches that I've personally come across, and I'm sure parents can speak to these wonderful coaches out there. But the ones that are doing wrong, I mean, just absolutely shame on you, because we're trusting you with our kids. And I hope you get the maximum penalty for taking bribes, because the parents did it, you didn't have to do it. And your love and passion for sports and kids should have stopped you from doing it, because you took away the opportunity from another kid that truly deserved it, that could have come to the school and done really, really well, and set that kid up for a better chance in life. So it's really heartfelt for me, for those children.
I really don't think they thought it through. I honestly just thought, I think they looked at it as, I have the money, I'm going to do it, without thinking how it was going to affect the other students that are trying to get in as well.
So let me ask you this, right? So you're a college coach. I'm trying to look for your comments as well, because we look forward to hearing your comments. So you're a college coach, your passion, you know, for you to be at this level for your sport, you're trusted with kids and parents and decisions every day. And you took a bribe for whether it's $100,000 or $500,000 or millions of dollars. You have to at some point say, this is wrong. I don't see where you didn't think about it. It wasn't like an overnight process. Someone approached you with the concept. You had time to think about it. And they did it multiple occasions as well. So I don't know. I don't buy the.
They had time to think about it, but the money was definitely more enticing than how is it affecting other students.
Yeah.
The money was much more enticing.
And that's why for me I think it's such a stupid crime because you're bound to get caught. It's like, you know, a bank robber that locks himself in the store. You're gonna get caught. How can you, it's so huge, so wide, not think you would get caught at some point?
Yeah.
And I know part of what I read as well is, you know, there's even tax evasions involved, and I haven't read too much about that. But what William would do, the mastermind behind all this, is he would write them, the parents, the letter and say there was no exchange of goods or anything, so that these parents can still write off these donations on their taxes. I mean, the levels of that these
That they
parents
went
went to. And at the end of the day, for me personally, it's about the child you took out of the game, the child that you impacted, not your kids, because your kids will continue to be rich with your wealth that goes on forever. Yes, they'll be embarrassed by the crime, everything else, but the kids,
child that
the child that
deserved to be
deserved
there,
to
the
be
child
there,
that
the
worked
spot
hard to be there,
is where my heart
Yeah.
breaks, where my frustration is in this whole process itself.
No, these are selfish people. These are people that are only thinking about their lives and their children's lives without thinking about anybody else's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. See, Peggy, thanks for joining us. Peggy Benjamin, she says she should have gotten at least 2 years. Joan says, do you think it's wrong or a crime to pay tutors to coach your kids for these exams, SAT, ACT?
No.
I don't.
To pay tutors?
No.
No, Joan, those are tutors. I remember trying to pass an exam in to get into a good high school, and my mom paid a tutor to make sure that each one of her 5 children, she paid a tutor to give us extra lessons, extra classes, so that we can know exactly what to write on those exams to get into the better schools, the better high school. So no, it's not wrong.
Tell us why you would think one way or the other, Joan, if you think it's wrong or right. I'm with Cheryl Ann. I think it's fair. I think you can pay if you have the means to do it. Some parents don't have the means, but they choose to work extra hours because it allows their kids a better advantage if they're getting that one-on-one attention. We know sometimes the school ratio, it's like 1 to 20 or 22. My kids aren't in like middle school anymore. So yeah, getting extra help, whether it's from another kid or a professional company that tutors, I personally don't see anything wrong with that.
No.
And a lot of people saying hello, long time, welcome Nadia, Leslie Ann, thanks for joining us on the Caribbean Edge. Joan says there are students getting into these top schools because their parents went to these colleges. Is that fair?
Not at all. That I don't think is fair.
Wow.
Not just because your parent went to that college, you should get any kind of privilege to go there as well. You have to work hard for that. I think each and every person as an individual should work just as hard as the other to get to that point. To get to that point.
I believe so too, and I don't really understand the process where you can make a contribution or donation to like a building, and then that gives you, apparently this is the legal way people get in, but it gives you the priority over other students because your parent owns the building or their name's on the building.
Right.
So that's one level that people will say, yes, that's corruption, it's unfair to other kids because my parents doesn't have the money, I don't have the priority to get into the school. So yes, and a lot of people join us say yes, the education system, the entire system is corrupt.
Mhm.
And then Leslie Ann Howell says, believe me when I say this is just the tip of the iceberg. Coaches, parents, administrators. And you're right. So far, I believe up to yesterday, today, there aren't a lot of schools or administrators involved yet,
Yes.
right? Because a lot of the bribes supposedly, according to the investigations thus far, went directly through the coaches, and then the coaches would deal with the SAT administrators. I believe they have like 2 or 3 people involved or associated with the SAT so far. So a lot of the colleges themselves have denied the knowledge of it, because apparently the coaches pull so much weight. You can get your kids into the school just from the coaches, and that's true, because that's the way my daughter was recruited, was through her sports. Obviously, she had the grades and everything else to get accepted as well. But they may be looking at all those things now. Is that the right way for us to allow our coaches to have that much leverage and pull? I can't see them not reconsidering how they recruit.
I think they would have to. I think they would have to. And like Leslie-Ann said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I believe that. I believe that there are a lot more people involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to all come to light. It's
And
going
yeah,
to all
absolutely.
come to light. Everybody is going to have a price to pay. Everyone's
Mhm.
going to have a price to pay in some shape or form.
I agree.
Mhm.
And then there's always going to be a paper trail too. So someone
Yeah.
just has to drop your name, and the whole investigation starts, and you
Yeah.
get busted. How did it all happen? We touched on that. There's so many people involved. I think a lot of the media has talked about the 2 actresses that got busted in this process. But we have one huge attorney, we have business people, realtors, we have a top designer that was also involved in this process. The charges, bribery was added, which gives up to 5 years. There's money laundering, conspiracy to commit fraud for federal programs, conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. We know about the tax write-off. We mentioned that as well. So a lot of charges are mounting as this investigation continues. Anything else from our viewers?
Leslie-Ann basically said it's not the individual person, it's the entire system of higher education that needs restructuring. And I agree with that.
I agree. Yeah.
Because for this to stop happening, everything is going to have to change.
Well, a lot of people are questioning as well. How much is a college degree now? We've seen it where, because times have changed like everything else, your college degree, some people are saying, is less significant now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do a lot of research online now. And because the tuition costs have been rising significantly, and students come out unable to pay these loans off,
and unable
less
to
and
work
less-
in their field.
Yeah.
Not only unable to pay these loans off, but unable to work in the field of what is it that they went and they
Exactly.
got their degrees with. So a lot of them don't even want to go and get that higher education
Right.
anymore.
So I think this whole scandal will impact the reputation of obviously these elite colleges. A lot of parents and children are now gonna, this is a turning point for us all to say, how much do I want to invest in these colleges? And they're gonna start looking at some of the smaller colleges now, because these top colleges are somewhat tarnished, is what people are saying as well.
And their reputation was already going down the
Mhm.
tubes. A lot of the children today, they don't want to have to go to and get that higher level of education. All of them feel like it's a waste of time, a waste of money. So now that this has happened, the reputation is going to be even worse, and I think you're going to see a complete downfall a complete downfall. It's gonna, like Lesley-Ann said, there has to be some form of restructure for them to be able to upkeep this need for that higher education on that level.
Yeah, I see some comments coming through, so we're gonna get to your comments as well. So while we're looking through the comments as well, because this is definitely a topic that we want to hear your opinion about. And if we don't get to any of these comments, we will definitely get to them after the show. And of course, we like to see when you're all responding to each other as well. What would you like to see changed is a question that I have.
Nadia Assad is saying that we as a community need to be more engaged. I agree 100%. We need to have the input of what is it that of the change that we want to see.
Right. So how, and Nadia, you're running for office as well. How can the community get involved? What do you mean by that? If you can elaborate in the comments as well for the viewers.
Chinlu, how can universities afford to pay college coaches millions but cannot extend more financial aid for students? Oh, great question. Great question. How is that possible?
We need some college administrators on here. That is a great question, and I agree with that. And the whole process, I believe colleges definitely have to look at it, how we're recruiting, the cost involved for colleges. It's 2019, you know, if we want to continue to encourage kids to go to school, how do we make it more affordable for kids that can't afford it? How do we cut out all this corruption where people can simply, whether it's bribe coaches, bribe the SAT, which I know how kids stress out over taking SAT and the hours they spend studying or going through tutors to get them help and ready for these tests.
Nadia is also informing us that there's a crucial town hall meeting that will be held at 2650 West Sistrunk Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, Monday from 6 to 9, where we can basically address all these issues as to how can we become a better influence on the efforts, and how is it that we can improve the schools in our community.
Great.
So this is where we can have our voice. This is where we can find out how we can be a better advocate.
So for those of you not in Florida or even close to that area, Fort Lauderdale, you know, find out from your local district where you can go, what changes, because I'm sure, just like we are, a lot of districts are speaking about this and change that is necessary to make it more of a fair and even playing ground for our children. And it's nothing new, it's just, and I always believe this had to happen for the attention for the light to shine on it, for us to start having these discussions and fixing it. And, you know, I want to talk a little bit more about the parents that committed these crimes and the fairness, the how fair is it to people that are doing lesser crimes. I think our justice system is so unfair in so many ways. I can't imagine as a parent if I'd sent my kid to another district being faced with paying thousands of dollars that I don't have and being sentenced to 5 years in jail, and then to see someone, because they're privileged and have the money, just get sentenced to 2 weeks. So let's see what happens as they go through with these charges and do right by us as a community and as a society in charging people that have truly defrauded the system.
Leslie Ann is having a conversation with Chinlu in regards to why is it that all of the money is going into admissions as opposed to financial aid. And Leslie Ann is informing Chinlu, because she's worked in this department for quite some time, that that's where the money carries all of the weight. It's in admissions. They don't care about financial aid. They don't care about that. They care about the interest rates that can go up with all of the money that we have to pay back when we fork it out for this higher education. I mean, I'm one of them. I have a bunch of student loans for the money that I forked out at an incredible interest rate.
Oh, yeah. So I know, and you say the SAT exams are so strict and so confidential, you can't even sneeze. So it is beyond belief that they were able to penetrate in such a way. But my understanding of how that happened was you would take the SAT yourself in some cases. And then if you scored too low, this is where William played his role, where he was a professional in this arena, so to speak, where he could tell you how much you would need to increase that score in order not to raise suspicion. So then he would work with the SAT administrator to bring it up to that point. So you wouldn't go above it to start suspicion
yes,
on
for
it.
anybody to think, wow, they might be cheating.
So they really thought this through. That's why I don't buy.
You know what is it? Is that this has been going on for a very long time. This has been going on forever. So to say that it's just started in 2011, please.
No, well, this investigation, the time frame that they looked at was 2011
right,
to 18.
but trust me, this has been
absolutely
going on
forever.
way before that. Way before that. According to Leslie Ann and according to Chinlu, it's called the legacy. And the legacy students, Leslie Ann says 20% of admissions is for the legacy, the so-called legacy. 20%. That's a lot.
It is.
That's
huge.
a lot.
Wow. So I did ask my son what he thought of this, and he's like, well, Mom, I'm not surprised. This has been happening forever. This is nothing new. So I don't think a lot of students are shocked. It's just normal for them. A friend of mine from a different country reached out to me, and he said, in America, this is a huge deal, but in the country he's from, this is nothing.
Wow.
This is like, it happens, yes, but it's just accepted. It's the norm.
And what country is this?
Nigeria.
Wow.
And he said, and I said, tell me a little bit more, because I couldn't understand why it was, just nothing, So you have to understand different countries are going to look at it differently as well. And he says, well, we have so many different crimes in Nigeria.
I was just about to say,
this is
especially
just a small.
Scam-wise, remember they email you, they call you, they go all out.
Yeah,
so they go all out.
Compared to all the other crimes, this is minimal in there. But, like I said, I can't say it enough, is my heart is with the kids that lost out on the opportunity because someone, because of money and privilege, took their space for a kid that didn't deserve it. When you can sit there and pay someone to put your child's picture on another athlete's face or body so that they can get accepted into school, when you pay someone to change the SAT scores that kids study for, pay money, parents are paying to get their kids extra tutoring, extra help, just so that they can get a good SAT score, just to get into college. I mean, I don't know. I'm truly hurt about this, as you can see, because I know what these parents go through as parents ourselves. And for all the athletes out there that don't make it because they were one kid short, they were the next kid in line that could have made it, and someone took it from you. So shame on all the parents and the coaches.
Even a bigger shame on those that don't even want to admit it.
Yeah.
even a bigger shame on those that would not come outright and say, like how Felicity said, I just wanted what was best for my child. I thought what I was doing was right, but now I realize that it was not fair. At least admit it, own up to it. Okay, I did it, I wasn't thinking, I didn't think it through, I didn't look at it as I was depriving another student, but now, yes, I am guilty. I'm gonna have to pay for this crime that I committed. At least own up to it.
Yeah. I'm glad she stepped up to the plate and owned it.
Yes.
However, I simply don't buy that, if you can go to bed at night not even thinking what you did was wrong, then there's something wrong with you. And it could be because I was raised differently. I didn't have those privileges, so I can't think in that bubble, so to speak, and that could be it.
Well, for me, it's don't judge me because I sin differently from you.
Yeah.
Let's just put it in that perspective. This is how she decided to do wrong. We all do wrong in some way. None of us is perfect. Not one of us. So you are sinning differently from how I sin. I'm sinning differently from how you sin. So own up to it. I messed up. We are all going to mess up, make poor decisions, make wrong decisions without thinking through the consequences, or even if we thought through the consequences, we didn't give a crap what the consequence would be, or we hope that we would not get caught. So now that, okay, it has come to light, I messed up, I wasn't thinking, or I thought and I didn't give a hoot about the other student that I wasn't being fair to, own up to it and pay for your crime. Do the time. You did the crime, do the time.
Well,
own up to
she's
it.
not doing the time because 2 weeks is just not
Nothing.
enough. 2
Nothing.
weeks is nothing when other parents are being charged greater sentences, greater amount of money, when they just simply put their kid in a neighboring community.
Is that her
School.
fault that she's only serving 2 weeks?
No, the
Thank
system.
you.
I'm not saying it's her fault.
The system needs to basically.
She either had a good attorney,
Right.
or the smart
The system.
to own up to it
It's-
quickly
yeah.
before the
It's
wrath
the
came
system.
down. It is
It's the
absolutely
system.
the system.
The system. She's
Yeah.
Felicity Huffman, so guess what? She only serves 2 weeks. It's the system.
I just think the others owned up to they probably would be doing 2
Doing
weeks
2
as
weeks
well.
on community hours.
So I'm glad that they didn't, because I just don't think the punishment fits the crime. So I am one of those that will be following this story because I definitely want to know the outcome for each parent involved.
It's sad. It's so sad that this is all that they're all gonna serve, because I can bet you Lori Loughlin and all of the others, the 33 of them,
And
they're not
counting.
gonna serve. They're not gonna serve. Who's gonna serve years? You really think
They
any one of them is
have
gonna
to.
serve years?
I think so. I think this has gotten the attention of the entire world, and the mere fact that they're adding bribery charges to it,
Seems like
and
they're serious.
other charges, they're serious about it.
Yes. I think they have to be, like you said, because it's out in the public.
And giving her 2 weeks, it's not enough. So there's an outcry from people for the leniency that she got for this. So I don't see anyone getting 2 years. This is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So we'll continue our conversations and we look forward to yours. Any last minute comments as we wrap up tonight's show?
Nothing really. Joan agreed that it's big sin versus little sin, sin versus sin. It's all sin. It's just how you're going to pay for it. It's basically how are you going to pay for it. Nobody wants to be judgmental here, but it's sinful, whatever it is that it is. Right now we're talking about the bribery for the education. But long story short, they should pay for it, and it shouldn't be 2 weeks. It should not be 2 weeks and community hours. It definitely should not be.
And You know, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that, Joan. Big sin, and Cheryl Ann. Big sin versus little sin. Sin is sin. I just think that when you hurt other people, and you know, I just don't buy the fact that you didn't think at some point, even if you don't think right away, you did something right away. She owned it, and I'm happy for that. The others didn't. Maybe if I talk to one of them, I'll understand why they don't think they did anything wrong, which I won't have the opportunity, obviously. But I just don't believe sin is sin. I'm not sure I'm convinced on that one yet. I just think what they did is outrageous, and maybe because I'm just really angry because of the impact to the innocent kids that could have had that opportunity. And they have all the money in the world. It was not necessary. You can't pay someone to take your SAT scores and think it's okay. You can't take the picture of, you know, that could have been my child's picture you took and put it on you put your kid's face on my kid's body and pretended it was you playing a sport. So I just can't understand why anyone would do that.
Nobody understands
Yeah.
it. Joan doesn't understand it. I don't understand it. Nobody's saying that we understand it. We're just saying that it is a sin, but other people are also sinning in some way, shape, or form. And who are we to pass that final judgment, basically?
Well, someone put that they disagree with us, and I'm sorry, just flashing up on my screen. They disagree that this is just, I will say, passing in the wind, that it will come out of the spotlight. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't.
I think
hopefully
it will.
there will be repercussions,
Yeah.
or at least the colleges will take a look at how fair or unfair their practices are and make it more of an even playing ground. We can't live in a fairy tale world. It will probably never be even, but at least some lessons learned from this.
Yes, that's what we
particular
hope. Lessons
scam.
learned. That's what we
Yeah.
always hope for. Lessons learned.
And for all the kids that feel a way about this, just shine, continue to work hard, know that you have love and support from your parents and your family, and don't give up hope on any of this as well.
No, believe in karma. Believe in karma. It will come around. What goes around comes around, and at some point in time, each person pays the price for what is it that they do. Each and every person.
And I want them to pay big time. Have a beautiful evening, and thanks for joining us on the Caribbean Edge. Remember to share this episode and still make your comments. We're still going to respond to you. We look forward to hearing your opinions as well. So thank you once again.
Guys, don't forget we have a new page. We want you to like it, and we want you to invite your friends to like it. We still have our group, the Caribbean Edge. We still have our Instagram page. We are trying to grow our YouTube. We are looking for sponsorship. We want to grow so that we can continue to inspire you. So please, we ask for your help in sharing and liking and commenting. And we hope you take good care for the rest of the week. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Bye.